Hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you. And I say this with this face that I just woke up. Um, I'm just trying to wake up. Sorry. So just to let you know why my face. Yes, my flight was at 6 a.m. in the morning, and so I had to go to the airport at 3 a.m. and I made my bag at 1 a.m. So I just slept 1 hour and a half, kind of, tonight, and then I arrived to the airport, and there I wrote the post for today, and uh, so you have time to read, and um, and then I flew and I arrived at 8:30. So until I found a place to sleep for a while, it was 9:30, and I could lay down at 10. So I just woke up a few minutes ago. So sorry if I'm a little bit dizzy. Being a little bit inside a dream maybe is a good way to explain the second dimension. Sorry for those who are waking up really early. I guess you are like me right now. So let's begin today with the topic of second dimension related to the third eye. Mental week of the month of Pisces. So first of all, remember, as we have talked yesterday, the first dimension is like one dot, one sphere that has two hemispheres called the alpha and the omega. And this can be like a dot, or this polarity can be spread in a line. So it can be taken also as a line. So short as one dot, or so long as a long line. But it will have only two sides and only one thing. So the first dimension says everything is a polarity that really is only one thing. So we are all one. So the first dimension is the one that says that anything that you draw like in the first dimension will be seen as an image of one line or a dot, and that's it. So the concept of the first dimension is saying that there is only one thing in the universe that is multiplying itself by two, so positive and negative. So this means that everything that is considered to be whole in a bipolar reality, like we do with the positive and the negative, the planet with the north and the south, and the galaxy and everything, like proton and electron, an atom, everything that is whole by this polarity, positive and negative, has been produced by the first dimension. Okay. So we can think that the second dimension, if it's 2 second, could be also formed by this polarity of positive and negative, but it doesn't, because positive and negative, the two poles, are just only one, are just only one line, only one reality, and axis of itself is one dot reflecting itself. Okay, that would be. So so the second dimension would be that line, that polarity divides itself by many lines. Okay, so different lines that creates a figure. So the second dimension will be related with the multiplication of that line, creating a figure around. So the second dimension will take us to the lines that draw a figure, which is like a plan, a planification, a map in 2 dimensions. So the second dimension can be taken as the plane, the planning of a house, of a building, like an architect that they does the planes, the shapes of the planes on a paper, that they drew the rooms, they drew just the square, and they drew the doors like a line, maybe like a triangle, showing the shape of the opening of the door, but they don't draw the door with the handy thing. They just draw everything from above. Okay, so it's like in a plane. So the second dimension is the one that shows the basis of how to build above, how to follow the structure. So the second dimension is like the imaginary design of what later you will experience, you will live in. So we can say that the second dimension is created by different polarities. So you have one line, which is positive, negative, and this one line divides itself, creating a new one, and then divides again, creating a third one. So we have this triangle, for example, created by the positive and negative of one line, and then the positive and negative of the other line, until they connect. So they start to unify the different polarities of itself, trying to earn energy, trying to manage, to rest, to have harmony, and not to lose not to waste energy. So it creates once and again another line to hold the pattern. So these lines are the basis for the third dimension. So for example, if we had created this triangle, the triangle will be the base for a tetrahedron in the third dimension. The square will be the base for a cube, an hexahedron in the third dimension. The pentagon, okay, with 5 sides, will be the base of the dodecahedron in the third dimension. So depending on the planification, the architectural drawing of these lines, you will get the structure in the third dimension. So in order for this second dimension to work, for the design to work, the design must be connected by intuition. It should be intuitive. So the shapes must be must know where they go. And intuition means to bring in something, to bring it. So to take one part to another. So intuition is to know where these designs will close, will be brought to. So the design of intuition, the design of intuition is the one that we can only use through imagination. So the key of the second dimension is imagination, because in the same way as an artist or an architect, when they make a drawing in 2 dimensions, they are not just thinking about the lines in 2 dimensions, they are thinking about how it will wrap up. So how it will end up being a structure in other dimensions. So the drawings of the second dimension are based in the ideal of other dimensions. So the second is the manifestation of what will become in others. So from the point of view of logics, the second dimension is a conjunction of lines and dots that makes a plane figure. So from the point of view of Pisces, much more transcendental, much more emotional, what we can understand from the second dimension is the imagination, the intuition, because when someone sees something, a drawing in the second dimension, your mind tries to close and wrap up the figure to end the structure. So you use the imagination. So now when the universe already designed the matter, the third dimension, now the spirits, the minds, needs to live in this reality, needs to be downloaded in this reality. So we have the matter, and the way in which we are downloaded here is by being born. So the birth is the moment of becoming in the third dimension, but our mind was still designing this in the second dimension. So what happens is that we become kids trying to learn about the environment. We need to acquire all the information as possible to understand the third dimension. So what our minds are doing when we are kids is to try to give a meaning, a sense to all the things that are around us. And the way we do it is by connecting the dots. In order to understand the reality, we need to connect the different structures, the different dots that our mind hadn't the experience of. So we have these imaginary lines that connect all the realities that shaped the structure of our mind, our synapses, so the mind can understand the reality it is living in. So that's why the kids needs to imagine. Imagination is to fill in the gaps, is to trying to make the shape, to connect all the things. So imagination is the key to live in the third dimension, because we need to fill up the gaps of all the things that are disconnected and spread around, and our mind needs to relate them one another. So that's the job of imagination, to try to put everything in a network, to create the planification, the design, the figure that gives sense, meaning to what we are living. So we need to create that network through imagination in order to connect the dots. So the way in which we will connect the dots will evolve during our lives. Our life, one life, they will evolve. So in the first stage, when we are childs, when we are kids, we will be connecting the dots of the matter, because when you are born, you need to connect the dots all around you. You need to understand the whole things in the matter, in the physical world. So because of this, the kids are like looking around and imagining about matter, connecting the skies, connecting the trees, connecting the ground, connecting the people, everything like in a world of imagination to understand the reality they are living in. So we need imagination in the matter in order to shape the idea of the place where we are living now, to have the map in our head of the reality. So there is a moment in our life when we already wrapped the idea, when we close the whole picture around us, and we kind of have the image of matter. We already know, okay, this is life, this is the matter, this is how I manage this reality. So suddenly the image has been closed, and I start to lose the ability of imagining the matter. I start to see the matter how it is, because the image has been adapted to our life. So we already have the whole picture. So here comes the next step, which is connecting the dots of the interpersonal relationships. So here comes the moment of the second way of imagination, which is the emotional, and is the moment of the teenagehood. So we start to try to fill the gaps, connecting the dots through the imagination of relationships, like falling in love, having the illusion of knowing someone, meeting someone famous, to becoming like an artist and be seen by many, beloved, but also frustrated. The images of depression, the different emotions that you feel when you are in love, the desires, the idols, is when you try to connect all the emotions that you connect with other people, and you start to create platonic loves and all this imaginary of relations. So this is the moment when the imaginary starts to design a concept of expectations. The expectations of closing the idea of something that I have only a few dots. Like, for example, I'm in love with someone, so I will create, but I cannot know that person, or I have no idea how to live with that person. So I create a projection, an imaginary projection of having a purpose with that person, of having a story, a past life, or whatever, in order to close the imaginary of that idea. So I can have I can fill up my expectations. So this teenager mind is the one that tries to give a meaning to all the things that I feel, my emotions. So this teenager aspect of imagination is the one that is much more related with the Pisces, because it's the moment to fall in love. It's all about emotions, and will not measure the size of its emotions, because it is just trying to wrap the idea of what that person is feeling. So then after the 28 years old, approximately, something happens that we start to wrap the idea of emotions. We start to close the idea of what we have been practicing. So around that time, we close the concept of what is to be related with emotional. And we had the experience. So the people start to say, I live this, I have idea of how this relationship will go. Oh yes, I had the experience of that. So you stop having illusion about relationships. You stop having expectations about the connection with others, and you start to close a bit or a lot the group of people, of friends. You don't have much friends now. You close the friends. You start to be much more picky when it's about finding a relationship, a lover. You start to know the emotions. You had the experience of emotions. So now it's like a kid acknowledging the matter. Is when you say, yes, okay, I know how this works. So I am not imagining anymore. I'm just living the present. So I start to have illusion with other things when I become adult, with projects, with goals of life. I start to have illusion about philosophy, about different ways of thinking, about what we expect to do for our lives. So we start to imagine planifications of what to do with our lives. And then at 52, it's like a cut in your life. And after 52 years old, it's kind of repeating again. Like you start to be willing to do new things with your body, to discover new things to do, to get illusion about the physical world. And then a bit older, you start to relate with new relationships, with the great sons, great daughters, maybe willing to fall in love again, start to create new relationships with new people, or you change the way in which you relate. And suddenly, in the last part of your life, you start to get illusion and imagining what is coming next, what is in the next moment after life. So of course that for many people can be before, after, different process. But usually this is divided in three, and the first stage of life, then after 52, other three process again. Of course, that if you can be living other processes, but maybe that is because you hadn't closed the first ones. So this is a psychological process of humanity, something that happens through the biology. And what's the problem now with the humans? That these stages usually are very separated culturally. So by culture, we usually cut the moments of these illusions. Like around 11, 12 years old, usually the culture, the people, says to the kids, stop imagining. You are not a kid anymore. You have to live the reality. So what before was something so beautiful, imagining, playing, now is like forbidden. So suddenly it's like forbidden because it's not well seen a person that lives like a child when it's adult. So they cut it. And also, after the illusions of love, of all the emotions during the teenagehood, in between the 21 and 28 years old, society starts to say, stop living in the moon, in the clouds. You have to work hard if you want to be someone in life. Stop living these weird emotions, these crazy ideas that you have, and stop it. You have to do something useful for your life. So once you decide to leave your life and work for your projects, and you start to get illusion into your own things, suddenly society and the system says to you, it's not like that. You have to work hard if you want to get something. You have to pay your bills. You have to do many things, ask for many permissions for the state. It's not that simple. And that's the moment when a lot of people lose the illusion of their personal projects, relying its energy in the collective projects that the state is telling to you is good. And now, as you see, all these things that I described are dots in a line of a life. But these dots are being disconnected because people say, okay, once you accomplish this stage of childhood, cut it. This is useless now. Now you have to be this. And then cut it and cut it. So the image that should be your life suddenly is just different dots separated. Childhood, teenagehood there, adulthood there, all separated. You're not connecting the dots. Life is making us create something and then destroy it in order to build a new thing, forgetting the last one. But in order for this to work, we need to make the shape, to create the idea, the meaning of the whole life. And the only way you can do that is by connecting the line of childhood with the line of adulthood, with the line of teenagehood, the line of being old, all together creating an image. So the second dimension, what it says is that if we are willing to create and expand our life, to be creator of our life, what we have to do is to connect the planes of our creation, of our life, not disconnect it and leave it by separated. We need to create the synapses of our entire life. So this is not about, I did this process, I wrap it and said, okay, I've done it, and throw it away. And the next one, I've done it, throw it away. No, I need to make a summary of all that. I need to integrate each one of the tools of each process to create the image. So now imagine this, that a person that thinks that when childhood ended, you shouldn't imagine anymore, is a person that is losing the ability to open itself to other worlds, to other cultures, to other continents. Because when you close the idea of the matter, imagining the matter as a child, and you close it and you say, I cannot imagine anymore, you just wrap the idea of the only place you lived. So you will perceive the world just with this tiny aspect. If you don't use your imagination of life, willing to imagine possibilities in this reality, in the physical reality, you are not going to be able to know, to open your horizons, to live other cultures, other realities, other dimensions of this world. Also, for example, in emotion, when we say all men are equal, like they're all the same, all women are all the same. When we have these ideas that I found this person and I don't think I'm gonna be able to get in love again with anybody, or my dog dies and I suffer so much that I don't want any other pet in my life. These kind of thoughts close the emotional level. They create a concept, an image of what is emotion, and you will live your whole life feeling like that. Instead of opening all the love you have to give, all the love you have to receive. Being able to decide to feel much more. Maybe there are greater things out there. And then we go into the mind. Beliefs, structures, patterns, purpose. This is my purpose, I have to do this. I have to, this is my belief, and this is the best one. You are mistaken. This is the right thing. When you close your mind to one option, you are losing many other opportunities. If you are a religious people, there's no bad on opening yourself to the option of science, because it will just open your perception of your religion. If you are a scientific person, there's nothing wrong on opening yourself into a spiritual or religious way of thinking, because it opens the way you can understand science and people. When you open yourself, it doesn't mean that you have to leave behind what you are. It means that you are opening, expanding the possibilities of who you are. And all this can be done by the imagination that creates an illusion of a figure that we need to close up. See? So let's go to the information for today. The vibration for today is love. The statement for today is I am unconditional love. The code is winter. It is the hardest of all, where we leave the temporal aspect of what we specially call air. This means the moment of nothingness, of void, where life disappears and lets itself die. The key of this process is transcendence, is freeing from all forms to allow our fruits to nourish the seeds of a new being that has the potentials inherited from us when we disappear. So winter is exactly this concept of unconditional love, which is to let go in order to let be. Sit comfortable. We close our eyes and concentrate in our breathing. Take a deep breath and be aware of the room, of the space you find in. And with your imagination, start to expand the walls, the roof, the floor, in all the directions, making it wider and wider until it all disappears, creating the biggest and emptiest space you can imagine. Imagine that this wide space, open space, is your mind, empty, and yourself, myself, is the consciousness that designed the patterns of my thoughts. Take a deep breath and try to connect, to remember all the illusions that you had in your life when you were a child, a teenager, an adult, and a mature person. Take a deep breath, and every memory of imagination, of illusion that you had as a child, make it now as a step. It doesn't matter the direction, but each memory of each illusion is one step in this space, creating a pattern in your path. What are the illusions that you had as a child and you left behind? What are the illusions that you had as a child and you still hold today? Think about the illusions that you had as a teenager, the people you fell in love with, the idols that you had. The illusions that you had onto other people. And each time you remember one, give a new step in any direction, designing the pattern. Take a deep breath, and when you're ready, keep walking around, remembering the illusions of being an adult and a mature person. I look around, watching how my path starts to reproduce in much lines many others, creating designs, drawings. I observe myself surrounded by the drawings of my illusions. I allow my imagination to show me the patterns, the drawings that my illusions have designed for me. Without judgment, I allow myself to imagine. Take a deep breath and watch the entire plane that designed what you are. The drawing that makes you be. I observe how each path, each step that I gave in my life with illusions are made of love, and they were conditioned. So as I look the entire picture, I set every step free, making it all into unconditional love. Take a deep breath. I am unconditional love. I am unconditional love. I am unconditional love. I believe. I am imagination. Take a deep breath, and each one at its own time, come back here and now. So from now on, don't be afraid of imagining, of allowing yourself to feel the illusion of the imagination. is the only way in which we can connect all the dots of our life, of ourselves. Thank you everybody for being here, and as always, see you tomorrow at 2020 in Egypt.